Hi, I'm Justin. Welcome to Green Props. These are my Korean Dwarf Lilacs. I don't know all that much about these species, but I think the dwarf species probably does tend to make better bonsais just because the leaves are smaller to begin with. I do like lilacs. Beautiful pink flowers. When they do bloom, it almost looks like fluffy little pink clouds. I haven't given much thought to how I'm going to style these yet, so maybe I'll start by sitting down and taking a good look at them. So to start, I'm going to take a look at this twin trunk one. It actually was a twin trunk, and this spring I decided I wanted two bonsais instead of one, so I actually cut it right down the middle right here, and I pretty much regretted that decision immediately because I don't have any twin trunks. I think that's what it's called when the trunk's connected right at the base and then splits into two trunks. I don't have any in my collection, and this would have been a really good one, but the deed has been done. I don't know if they're going to fuse back together at some point if I keep them in the same position, but I'm gonna go with that plan for the next few years and see what happens. It's grown quite vigorously this summer, especially the second half of the summer. These shoots are getting quite long. I like to get right down at ground level to take a look at them as if you can imagine it's a giant tree and you're walking through the woods. Okay, to be honest, I don't really have a plan for this one, but I don't think you always do need a plan. You can kind of just work with what the tree gives you and use some of those general bonsai principles and methods, and it'll probably just look good. I think I'll start off by giving it that conical shape, trim back some of these long shoots, and see what it looks like from there. It might be easier to visualize and plan out the structure once I've done that. All right, so let's give this a shot. This one down here probably isn't gonna stay. That seems to be a sucker. I don't know if it might be connected to this trunk here. Yeah, it looks like it's connected to this trunk here. I'll start off by just cutting that nice and short. Although that would make a really good sacrificial branch. So maybe I'll try something here. I'm gonna get it out of the way so it's not interfering with light to the good trunks and the good branching, but I'm gonna try to just bend this down and stick it through this little hole in the side of the pot here. So I'll use this as a sacrificial branch to try to thicken the base. I actually tie a knot, kind of, as long as that holds long enough for it to set in position. Okay. All right, there's another one here, but I think that one sacrificial branch is good enough. I'm not going to take it out completely. I'll cut it back to the first set of leaves. Right. Now this one is coming out of the branch that I just anchored down, so I'll cut that back to the first or second set of leaves. In fact, probably won't stay anyway. I could just take those two little side shoots out, but I'll keep them for now because I'm indecisive. Always just indecisive. Okay, turn on some backfooting, let in some more light. Okay, so seeing as I'm a beginner bonsai enthusiast, often I'm kind of torn and can't decide what to do. Like, part of me knows that I should just leave this to grow, spend so much energy pushing out all this new growth. If I just cut it all off right now, all that energy is wasted. It doesn't get anything back. It's a net negative. But at at the same time, if I don't cut it back, I won't get as much light getting down into the canopy and promoting further back budding and getting some of those lower leaves where I want them. So I think I'm settling for a little bit of both, best of both worlds. I'm not gonna cut it right back to the conical shape, but I am gonna cut the ends off of each shoot to promote back budding, but it's not all wasted. The energy spent into pushing out those shoots, there's still gonna be a good amount of leaves there to photosynthesize with. So with that in mind, we'll continue. And if you think I'm wrong, please tell me, because I wanna know. Like, that's the biggest reason I'm making these videos, is to learn from you guys. And also just to document the progress, because you know, the next year it's often hard to remember what you had in mind when there's all that new growth, and it's nice to see how the trees responded to what you've done. That's the plan anyway. So please, yeah, if you would have done it differently, let me know. I was feeling pretty stressed today before I started looking at my trees. After watering them and thinking about future, I do feel a lot better. A form of meditation, very calming. Also, I'd like to know, what would you do? Would you, knowing that these are already split, would you separate them maybe in the spring, make 2 bonsais out of it? Or would you just leave them together? See what happens. They look really good, like even if they're not connected anymore, it still looks fine. I don't think I'm going to touch too much of this. Maybe I'll cut this end off here and I'll leave the rest of that. What I could possibly do is try to focus the growth into the shoots that I want, and if there's any little ones starting in there that aren't going to be useful, I could probably take them out. I'm not seeing too much of that though, so I kind of want to keep all of this for now. I think that's it. So now I'm just gonna trim back the top dressing, starting with this side here. Getting pretty heavy. I'm sure it's stealing some of the fertilizer from the tree. It's always satisfying trimming this off. Something about it. Just instant progress I can see right away. I guess that's rare in bonsai. Good progress is instant. Good progress is rare. Oh, there's the light. That's what I was waiting for. Now you can really see it. I only got about 10 minutes, maybe 15 each day, where the light comes in at that right angle. Passes by the pine tree, but there's another maple right there that's gonna hide it in 10 minutes. So I got a small window to do this work and capture it properly. Good lighting. Okay, let's get this done. Oh, it's nice to see underneath this stuff, there's actually some moss growing. Right now the root base is hidden under all this nice moss. I think with young roots that's fine. It probably helps, if anything, I would imagine. Helps keep in the humidity for those smaller roots to develop. This doesn't have a well-developed nabari, so I think that's okay. But once you do have an older root base that's well-developed and it has older bark, I think leaving the moss on top of it too long, first of all, hides the beauty and conceals it, but it can cause some rot problems as well. Got about 5 minutes left before that sun's gone. Try to work quick. I need some longer scissors or something for this. go a lot quicker. That always looks nice. Okay, you can actually see what's going on here. Yeah, I think this lower one leading towards you has a pretty weird root, like just the one big root coming out on that side. Nothing comes to mind here in terms of a plan for this tree, and I think for now I'm just gonna work with what it's given me, try to enhance the features instead of changing them. All right, that looks good. That looks good. Now for the next one. Okay, I guess I gotta watch out for that camera drift. Seems to be tipping out of position. Ooh, that's satisfying. Brand new Lazy Susan. Wow, look at the ball bearings on that. Impressive. Okay, so this, I think this is the oldest Korean dwarf lilac I have. I bought this one 3 years ago, I think, and the other one was 2 years old. This one is growing in an interesting soil composition. I do grow mushrooms, and I have a lot of spent sawdust blocks. So with this one in particular, as kind of a test, I did a really heavy sawdust mix in the soil, and it seems to really like it. The only thing is, I think I was underwatering it. The top always seemed kind of moist, but I'm not sure if I was watering it enough, because I picked it up one day and it was very light, you know, like I had just watered it and it just seemed really light. So that I spent some extra time. I spent about 3 or 4 times as much time watering this one in particular, and it absorbed it all. So yeah, I was definitely underwatering this. It was a very thirsty tree for a long time, and you can see it's kind of suffered a little bit. It's not as vigorous as the other one, but I'm sure it's going to be okay. I think for this one I'll start off by giving the moss and plants a haircut, just to kind of see what's going on underneath. So yeah, let's get going. This stuff grows right back. Like, you can't get rid of it unless you pull it out by the roots, it seems. So this one's actually quite nice. The root base is really big on it, and it's got an interesting feature here too. I heard someone's talking about a turtle shell or turtleback nabari. That's when the root base like spreads so far out that it kind of just covers a lot of the pot, the surface of the pot, the soil. This one isn't quite there, but in proportion to the trunk, it's the widest spread nabari I have, I think. I'll show you in a moment once I get this cleared out. This works better standing, I think. I was leaving some of these small shoots at the bottom, the suckers I guess you could call them, to try to thicken out that root base in the bar. So it's going to be kind of hard to show you actually, but let's see what we can do here. Here the nabari spreads out quite far, and you can see there's like actually going to be a hollow in it where the old trunk was. I think that's going to look pretty cool. Okay, so I don't need all these little shoots down here. I'm going to take a few of them out. In fact, they seem to grow back so easily. I'll just leave a few little leaves there instead. This one isn't in a good position at all. It's growing up into this other branch. So I'm going to cut it right back to the first or second set of leaves. As for the long shoots, this doesn't have very many long healthy shoots. It didn't put out that much growth this year, so I'm not even going to touch them. I'm just going to leave them. There's a few small suckers down here that have sprouted out from the root system, and my plan was with these is just to keep them cut way down so they develop a good taper, and eventually when I transplant it, I'll probably separate them all and make some other bonsais. That's a nice part about the Korean Dwarf Lilac, is it does seem to put up new shoots from the root system, so it's really easy to multiply your supply. So if I am keeping those shoots here, I gotta make sure they're cut back so that they don't shade out the good stuff. Another one on this side. Okay, that's coming along. This is, once again, I think this is my older one. Doesn't look like much right now, but I think it's gonna look really good. I'm trying to remember what the game plan was for this. It's been so long. You can see that the root base, the nabari, is like quite spread here, and then on the far side of it, you got that trunk that comes out on quite an interesting angle. So it comes up here, cuts back this way, splits into two. So I think this long shoot's going to get cut right back to just be a small side branch. Maybe it can get developed into its own pad, and then this part coming off of that same branch will become the leader. And I did bend it back. I bent it down into position this way to try to get some movement. That's what's going to happen, and it's going to come up here, over, up here, and then the main trunk's going to be this one. This one's going to get cut right back. It's a boring straight one, and I'll do that in the spring. Okay, so that's it for this one. I think it's time for a nice helicopter nabari shot, so let's hop in the chopper. Okay, so that's, I'm trying to get a good shot on it here. Oh yeah, so see that circular wound? That was, it was a twin trunk at first, so you can see that trunk at the back, and that was its twin. I cut it off, I think. But I'm hoping that wound becomes a hollow hole. I think it'll look really interesting, actually, if it does hollow out. But I think this tree has some really good potential, and from this lower angle, you can really see its potential. It's gonna be really good. All right, I completely forgot about the nabari shot for the first twin trunk lilac, so let's do that now. Hop in the chopper. Okay, here we go. Not much to see in terms of the root spread at the moment, but it still looks good. Okay, there they are, my 2 potted lilacs. Because these lilacs are so easy to propagate, it's the species I have the most of. And I guess they're mostly technically clones of each other with the same DNA. I planted a few of them in the garden over the tile using the root over tile method. Pretty excited to see how those develop in the next few years. I just did it this spring, but I guess the idea is with the tile, when you plant it on a tile, the roots can't go straight down, and the taproot can't go straight down, so instead the radial roots around spread outwards, and you can get some really nice development for your Nabarian root base that way, so you have nice surface roots spreading in all directions, and that's the game plan anyway. So let's go check those out, see how they're doing. They're just young for now, but they have great potential. Okay, here I am in the front garden, and I have 6 Korean dwarf lilacs here, just planted late spring, I believe. You can see the 3 of them right here, there, and there. So they're quite young, but I have bent a few of the branches. You can see that one's got a nice bend right there. I'm not going to touch them yet. I'm going to prune them back in the spring, but here's the second one as well. You can see I started to train it. This one's got a really nice S shape to it, so that's got some great bones for future development. This one over here is same thing. You know, you can see I used tent pegs or something to just hold some of those branches down. It works quite well. And then finally, got 3 more over here, there and there. These ones didn't quite get as much sun, and you can really tell the difference. They have barely grown at all since I put them in the ground. I'm sure they would have been almost better off in the pot, but they just get a little bit less sun, and you can really tell the difference. This one had a nice structure though, I remember. Oh yeah. I'm really excited to see how these thicken out actually being in the ground compared to ones in the pots. There's no reason I can't continue to train them like this. So yeah, some really great potential. I'm excited to see how this method works out, because apparently it's the best method. So while I'm here in the garden, I should also mention that not everything's as successful. Here are some Korean dwarf lilacs. I think there's 3 of them. I planted 4. Yeah, there's the 4th one. And I planted these in the spring, and they haven't grown at all. They're just really not liking the soil. This one I even started to train it a bit, you can see. And then yeah, it just didn't take off in the garden, unfortunately. This garden has a lot of spent sawdust mushroom blocks in it, which can be really good for the garden, but I'm sure it also messes with the pH levels. And when you have this much wood in a garden, it can actually absorb the nutrients, I'm told, and retain a lot of that nitrogen. But next year, hopefully it releases it all again, and the garden will be doing better than ever.